While I was on a business trip, my parents sold my earrings for $18,900 to pay for the family vacation my sister dreamed of. When I returned, the note read, "Thanks for the help. Love, Mom." I smiled because those earrings were well, let's go. My name is Eloan and I'm 30 years old. I live alone in a decent apartment downtown working at a marketing firm that pays the bills and keeps me busy. My family consists of my parents, Gareth and Maribel, and my younger sister, Rowena, who's 26. We've always been close, or at least I thought we were until recently. 2 years ago, my grandmother passed away. She was the kind of woman who always smelled like lavender and baked the best apple pies in the neighborhood. Before she died, she called me over to her house one afternoon. I remember sitting in her old floral armchair while she shuffled around looking for something important. "Eloan, honey, come here," she said, pulling out a small velvet box from her bedroom dresser. "I want to give you something special." Inside the box were the most beautiful gold earrings I'd ever seen. They had diamonds that caught the light and sparkled like tiny stars. I gasped when I saw them. "These were your grandfather's gift to me for our first wedding anniversary," Grandma explained, her eyes getting misty. "He saved up for months to buy them. They're worth quite a bit of money now, but that's not why I'm giving them to you." "Grandma, I can't take these," I protested. "They're too valuable." "Listen to me, child," she said firmly. "I'm giving these to you because I know you won't sell them. Your parents and Rowena, they might be tempted if times get tough. But you understand what these mean. Promise me you'll keep them and pass them down to your children someday." I nodded, tears forming in my eyes. She handed me a certificate that proved the diamonds were real. Then, to my surprise, she pulled out another identical box. "What's this?" I asked, confused. Grandma smiled. "Many years ago, I got scared that someone might steal the original earrings, so I had a jeweler make exact copies. I've been wearing the copies most of the time and keeping the real ones safe. Smart, don't you think?" I stared at both pairs. They looked absolutely identical. "Grandma, that's brilliant. How did you think of that? When you have something precious, you have to protect it," she said. "I want you to do the same thing. Wear the copies for everyday occasions and save the real ones for truly special moments. And Eloan, don't tell anyone about this secret. Not your parents, not Rowena, nobody. Can you promise me that?" "Promise. Grandma, this is our secret." She hugged me tight and I could smell her lavender perfume one last time. After Grandma died, I did exactly what she asked. I wore the real earrings only twice in 2 years. Once to my friend's wedding and once to a fancy company dinner. The rest of the time I wore the copies. Nobody could tell the difference. And I felt like I was honoring Grandma's memory by being so careful with her precious gift. I kept both pairs in different drawers in my bedroom dresser. The real ones went in the bottom drawer, wrapped in soft tissue paper. The copies stayed in the top drawer where I could grab them easily. My whole family knew about the earrings, of course. They'd seen them at Grandma's funeral and knew they were expensive. But they had no idea about the copies. Life was pretty calm and predictable. Everything changed last month when I got a new job at a bigger marketing company. The pay was better, but it came with more responsibilities. 3 weeks into the job, my boss called me into his office. "Eloan, we're sending you to Brighton Harbor for 2 weeks. He said, "There's a major client presentation, and we need someone reliable to handle it." I'd never been on a business trip before. The thought was exciting and terrifying at the same time. "When do I leave?" I asked. "Next Monday. I know it's short notice, but this is a big opportunity for you to make an impression on the company executives." That weekend, I started packing and realized I'd need someone to check on my apartment while I was gone. I had plants that needed watering and a goldfish named Nimbus who needed daily feeding. The obvious choice was my parents. When I called them, Mom answered on the second ring. "Hi, honey. What's up, Mom? I'm going on a business trip to Brighton Harbor for 2 weeks. Could you and Dad check on my apartment while I'm gone? Just water the plants and feed Nimbus." "Course," she said immediately. "We'd be happy to help. Just leave us your keys and we'll take care of everything." Dad got on the phone too. Don't worry about anything, Eloan. We'll make sure your place is perfect when you get back. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Oh, and Eloan, Mom added, are Grandma's earrings somewhere safe? I just want to make sure they're not lying around where someone might see them. The question surprised me a little, but I figured she was just being protective. They're in my bedroom in one of the dressing table drawers. They'll be fine. Okay, good. Don't worry. I'll keep an eye on your jewelry too. Looking back now, I should have paid more attention to that question. But at the time I was just grateful to have family I could count on. Since I had important meetings scheduled with the company executives in Brighton Harbor, I decided this would be the perfect time to wear Grandma's real earrings. They would definitely make a good impression and show that I took these meetings seriously. I carefully moved the copies from the top drawer to the bottom drawer and packed the real earrings in my jewelry travel case. The business trip to Brighton Harbor was everything I'd hoped for and more. The meetings with the executives went perfectly, and I could tell they were impressed with my presentations. Wearing Grandma's real earrings gave me an extra boost of confidence. 2 weeks flew by faster than I expected. When my plane landed back home, I felt accomplished and ready to tackle whatever came next at my new job. I unlocked my apartment door, expecting everything to be exactly as I'd left it. The first thing I noticed was that Nimbus was swimming happily in his clean tank, and all my plants looked healthy and well watered. Mom and Dad had definitely kept their promise about taking care of things. I dropped my suitcase in the living room and headed straight to my bedroom. I wanted to put the real earrings back in their safe place and switch back to wearing the copies for everyday life, just like Grandma had taught me. I opened my jewelry travel case and carefully took out the real earrings. They'd served me well in Brighton Harbor, sparkling under those bright conference room lights. Now it was time to return them to the bottom drawer where they belonged. I pulled open the top drawer of my dresser, expecting to see the copy earrings in their usual spot. The drawer was empty. I stared at the space where the velvet box should have been, feeling confused. Maybe I moved them somewhere else before I left, I said out loud, trying to stay calm. I searched through every drawer in the dresser. Nothing. I looked in my jewelry box, under the bed, in the closet, even in the bathroom medicine cabinet. The copy earrings were nowhere to be found. That's when the panic really set in. I went through my entire apartment like a detective, checking every possible hiding spot. I examined the front door lock, the windows, even the fire escape. Everything was intact. There were no signs of a break-in. All my other jewelry was still there. My TV, laptop, and other valuables hadn't been touched. The only thing missing was that one pair of earrings. I sat on my bed staring at the real earrings in my hands, and the truth hit me like a brick wall. Only 3 people had keys to my apartment while I was gone. Only 3 people knew about Grandma's expensive earrings. Only 3 people had access to my bedroom, my parents and Rowena. I grabbed my phone and dialed my parents' number. It rang and rang until it went to voicemail. Hi, you've reached Gareth and Maribel. We can't come to the phone right now, but leave a message and we'll get back to you. The cheerful tone of Mom's voice on the recording made me feel sick. I tried calling 5 more times. No answer. I called Rowena's number straight to voicemail. This is Rowena. I'm probably having too much fun to answer right now. You know what to do. I didn't leave messages. What was I supposed to say? Hey, did you guys steal my earrings while I was out of town? I threw on my jacket and drove straight to my parents' house. The 20-minute drive felt like hours. My mind was racing with questions and doubts. Maybe there was some explanation. Maybe they'd moved the earrings for safekeeping. Maybe I was wrong about everything. I pulled into their driveway and saw that both their cars were gone. The house looked dark and empty. I rang the doorbell anyway, holding my finger on it for a full 10 seconds. Nothing. I knocked hard on the door. Mom, Dad, are you home? Siloan. Silence. I remembered I had a spare key to their house from years ago when they went on vacation and asked me to check their mail. I fumbled through my keychain until I found it. My heart was pounding as I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Hello, anyone home? The house was eerily quiet. I walked into the living room and immediately saw a piece of paper on the coffee table. It was a sheet of Mom's pale blue stationery, the kind she used for grocery lists. But this message was written in bright red marker, and the words made my blood run cold. Lowen. Dad, Rowena, Caleb, and I flew to Sunreach Cove this morning. We sold your diamond earrings, and now we can afford this amazing vacation. Thanks for the help. Don't worry about us. We'll be having a great time in the sun. Love, Mum. I read it 3 times before the words really sink in. They'd sold my earrings. They'd stolen from me and used the money to go on vacation. The vacation they'd been talking about for months, but claimed they couldn't afford. Wait, now I remembered. About a month before my business trip, they'd asked me for money for a Sunreach Cove vacation. I was at their house for Sunday dinner when Dad brought it up. Eloan, your mother and I have been looking at this vacation package. It's a great price, but we need about $3,800 to make it work. Could you help us out? Mom jumped in immediately. We pay you back, of course. It's just that this deal expires soon and we really want to take this trip. I'd felt bad saying no, but I had to be practical. I'm sorry, but I just started this job. I don't know how stable my income is yet, and I've got my own expenses to worry about. Maybe in 6 months when things settle down, we could all plan a trip together. I'd even help pay for most of it. Then the look on their faces had been pure disappointment and anger. Dad had gotten quiet and Mom had started cleaning up dinner dishes with way more noise than necessary. Fine, Mom had said coldly. I guess we'll just have to keep dreaming about Sunreach Cove. They barely spoke to me for the rest of that evening, and for the next few weeks, our phone conversations were short and awkward. I'd felt guilty about it, but I knew I'd made the right financial decision. When I called them about watching my apartment, I was actually surprised they'd agreed so quickly and seemed so happy to help. I thought it meant they'd gotten over being mad about the vacation money. Now I realized they'd seen an opportunity for revenge. I stood in their empty living room holding that horrible note and felt a laugh bubbling up in my chest. It started as a giggle, then grew into full-blown laughter until I was nearly crying from it. They thought they were so clever. They thought they'd gotten their revenge and their vacation by stealing from me. They were probably sitting on some beach right now, feeling proud of themselves for pulling one over on their own daughter. But they had no idea that they'd stolen worthless copies. I folded up the note and put it in my purse evidence. Then I locked up their house and drove home, smiling the whole way. I decided to sit back and wait. I wanted to see how long it would take for them to realize their mistake, and I was curious about what their reaction would be. Part of me felt like I should be furious, but instead I found the whole situation almost entertaining. For 3 days I went about my normal routine. On the 4th day, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Hi honey. Are you okay? Haven't heard from you since you got back from your trip. I stared at the message for a few minutes, trying not to laugh. They were probably expecting me to be hysterical by now. I typed back a simple response. I'm fine. How's the weather in Sunreach Cove? Her reply came back almost instantly. Beautiful. We're having such a wonderful time. The next day, Rowena sent me a text. Hope you're doing well, sis. We're having an amazing vacation thanks to your diamond earrings. The beaches here are incredible. I couldn't help but grin. They were practically gloating. I sent back just one laughing emoji. Within minutes, Rowena texted again. What's so funny? I wrote back. You'll find out when you get home. She tried calling me twice after that, but I didn't answer. The rest of their vacation passed quietly. On the day they were supposed to come home, my phone went crazy. Mom, Dad, Rowena, frantic messages. The buyer was threatening police. They demanded I fix it. 2 days later, they showed up at my apartment. I heard the familiar sound of Dad's heavy footsteps on the stairs outside my door, followed by Mom's lighter steps and Rowena's voice saying something I couldn't quite make out. The pounding on my door was loud and aggressive. Eloan, open this door right now, Dad yelled. We know you're in there, Mom added. We need to talk. I took my time walking to the door. When I opened it, all 3 of them rushed inside like they owned the place. Dad looked red-faced and angry. Mom looked worried and frustrated, and Rowena looked like she'd been crying. Dad started pacing around my living room. Eloan, what you did to us was wrong on so many levels. Do you have any idea how much trouble you've caused? I didn't do anything to you, I replied, crossing my arms. I went on a business trip. Dad stopped pacing and stared at me. I sold those earrings to my boss for $18,900. I gave him the certificate of authenticity and everything. He bought them as an anniversary gift for his wife. That sounds nice, I said. Nice. Dad's voice was getting louder. His wife took them to a jeweler to get them cleaned, and the jeweler told her they were high-quality fakes. My boss came back to me furious, saying I'd tried to scam him. I nodded like I was hearing this story for the first time. That's terrible. What did you tell him? I told him there must have been some mistake, Dad said. But he had them tested by 2 different jewelers. They're definitely copies. I said, pretending to think about this. That is strange. Rowena stood up from the couch. Stop acting like you don't know what happened. You switched the earrings before you left for your trip. Did I? Asked, tilting my head. Mom started crying. Eloan, please. Your father's boss gave him 3 days to come up with $18,900 or he's going to ruin our lives. He could have your father arrested for fraud. He could get him fired. Please, you have to help us. Help you with what? Yes. Give us the $18,900, Rowena shouted. You caused this problem, so you need to fix it. I looked at all 3 of them standing in my living room, demanding that I pay them money to fix the consequences of their own theft. The situation was so ridiculous that I almost started laughing again. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. You stole from me while I was out of town. You sold my property without my permission. And now you want me to pay you $18,900 because your theft didn't work out the way you planned. We're family, Mom said desperately. Families help each other. Families don't steal from each other either, I replied. Dad stepped closer to me, trying to look intimidating. Eloan, I could lose my job over this. My reputation will be destroyed. You have to save me and save this family. Rowena crossed her arms. We're not leaving here until you give us that money. I walked over to my purse and pulled out Mom's pale blue note. I held it up so they could all see it. If you don't leave my apartment right now, I said calmly, I'm calling the police. And when they get here, I'm showing them this confession note where Mom admits in writing that you stole my earrings. They left without saying another word. A few days after I kicked them out of my apartment, my phone started ringing with calls from other relatives. First, it was my Aunt Daphne, Mom's sister. Eloan, honey, what's going on with your parents? They called asking to borrow money for some emergency. I honestly don't know what they're talking about, I said, which was technically true. Then my Uncle Harlan called. Your dad asked me for $6,200. Said it was life or death. What's happening over there? That's news to me, I replied. The calls kept coming. Cousins, family, friends. Even my grandmother's old neighbor somehow got dragged into their desperate search for money. Everyone wanted to know what was wrong and why my parents seemed so frantic. I gave everyone the same answer. I really don't know what's going on with them. Then my cousin Maeve called with a story that made my blood boil. Eloan, are you okay? Your parents told everyone in the family group chat you got caught trying to transport drugs and that you're facing jail time. They're asking for money to hire you a lawyer. They said you're too ashamed to ask for help yourself. I was quiet for so long that Maeve had to ask if I was still there. Maeve, I need you to add me to that family group chat right now. Within minutes, I was part of the family group chat that I'd avoided for years. I scrolled up to see what my parents had been telling everyone. There it was, a long message from Mom explaining how their daughter had gotten involved with drugs and was now facing serious criminal charges. They were begging for money to hire a top lawyer to keep me out of prison. I took a deep breath and typed my response. Hi everyone, this is Eloan. I'm not on drugs and I'm not facing any legal trouble. What actually happened is that my parents stole my grandmother's earrings while I was on a business trip, sold them, and used the money for vacation. Here's the confession note my mother left me. I attached a photo of Mom's pale blue stationery with her cheerful message about selling my earrings for vacation money. The group chat exploded. Messages started flying faster than I could read them. Are you kidding me? They stole from their own daughter. This is disgusting. I can't believe they lied to us about drugs. They tried to make us think Eloan was a criminal. My phone buzzed non-stop with private messages from relatives expressing shock and anger. Several people apologized for believing my parents' lies. Others wanted more details. A week later, Aunt Daphne called with an update that made me smile. Eloan, I heard from my neighbor who works at the same company as your dad. He had to give his boss his SUV instead of the $18,900. His boss accepted it as payment and agreed not to press charges. I felt a little bad for Dad. But then I remembered the confession note and the lies about me being on drugs. My sympathy faded quickly. 2 weeks later, my parents showed up at my door again. This time they looked defeated and exhausted. Eloan, we need to talk, Mom said quietly. We need help, Dad added. We don't have a car anymore. We need money for a new one. I looked at them standing in my doorway, still asking me for money after everything they'd done. Are you serious right now? We can't get to work without a car, Mom pleaded. I'm working 2 jobs just to pay our bills since your father lost his position. His boss had found an excuse to let him go a couple months after the earring incident. That's unfortunate, I said. But it's not my problem. You're our daughter, Mom cried. How can you be so cold? I'm not the one who stole from family, I replied. I'm not the one who lied to relatives about drug charges. You made your choices. I closed the door on them for the second time. A month later, I ran into my cousin Maeve at the grocery store. She filled me in on all the family drama I'd missed. Nobody trusts your parents anymore, she said. Aunt Celine won't let them visit because she's afraid they'll steal something. Uncle Harlan changed his locks after your dad asked to borrow his lawnmower and never brought it back. What about Rowena? Yes. Maeve's expression got serious. Oh, that's the saddest part. When her boyfriend Caleb found out about the earring theft and the debt, he refused to help them. He broke up with her immediately. Said he didn't want to be involved with a family of thieves and scammers. I felt a tiny bit of sympathy for Rowena, but then I remembered her text messages bragging about stealing my earrings. She was so embarrassed that she quit her job and moved to another city. She said she needed a fresh start where nobody knew about the family scandal. It's been 6 months since all this happened. I haven't spoken to my parents or Rowena since they showed up begging for car money. My life has actually gotten much better. I've had several more successful business trips and my boss has hinted about a promotion. I've learned not to trust anyone with my apartment keys. I installed a security camera system that lets me monitor my place from my phone when I travel. The real earrings are now in a safety deposit box at the bank, and I only wear the remaining copies for special occasions. Sometimes I think about my family and wonder if they've learned anything from this experience. But then I remember Mom's cheerful confession note and Dad's threats in my living room, and I realize some people never change. I keep Grandma's real earrings safe, just like I promised her I would. And every time I wear them, I think about her wisdom in making copies and keeping secrets. She knew that when you have something precious, you have to protect it from everyone, even the people who claim to love you.